The 2% false rape allegation statistic. Where does that come from? What was the very first place that was quoted? I guarantee you, you are going to be shocked. That and much more in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and dig right into it, and I hope you guys leave comments, questions, concerns, likes, dislikes, shares, whatever you want. The only way we keep this going is if you guys comment about it, and heck, if I'm doing something that you think is not there, put me in my place. Go ahead, I dare you. Alright, so I'll make comments as I read this, but it shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to dig right into it. In a thesis by Edward Greer, published in the Loyola of Los Angeles Law Review, examines the issue of false rape allegations and reports some of the findings. At issue is the often repeated claim that only 2% of rape allegations are false. This is what his study says. As far as can be ascertained, no study has ever been published which sets forth an evidentiary basis for the 2% false rape complaint thesis. Despite the difficulties in measuring wrongful accusations, there is indirect data available that is highly suggestive that far more than 2% of rape accusations are false. In a significant fraction of instances, the accusers recant their charges. So, where did the 2% number come from? Well, according to Greer's research, all of the scholarly papers, the citations, the statistics, the quotes by President Obama, the quotes by the National Organization for Women, the Violence Against Women Act, every single one of them, can all be traced back to one single source. A book. A book entitled Against Our Will, that was written by Susan Brown Miller, written in the 1970s. A novel, written by a 1970s extremist feminist. And that's where the rape statistic of 2% false rapes come from. A book. And everybody, down to the president, down to VAWA, down to Now, down to Time Magazine, down to the Young Turks, every single one of them has repeated a statistic that was written in the 1970s in a book. Let us continue. Where did she get the figure? She wrote the book. She said the figure was 2%. Back in the 1970s, by the way. Back before it was a little easier to get statistics. And they have been known for statistics back then to have been, shall we say, fudged a little bit. So where did she get the figure? She got the figure in a memoed handout in one of her files. That's where she got the statistic. Little memoed handout. Basically, what back then would have been the equivalent of a meme today. So, essentially, a meme is what all these places that quote the 2% false rape statistic are saying. I am shocked. What then is the real number of false rape reports? Well, let us go to Bloomberg and find out what they think. According to Bloomberg, the number of false accusations is what statisticians call a dark number. That is, there is a true number, but it is unknown and perhaps unknowable. So we don't know, and we may never. An article in the Washington Times also came out, and it's the one that also references the White House quote on the rape accusations. And it states that because they're mutually exclusive, therefore at least one of the statistics that the White House says is false, because you can't have a statistic that is mutually exclusive. You can't say all the men and women in the United States are raped and then report it as just women being raped. Half of those belong to men, or whatever percentage belongs to men. Using actual report, this is the article in Bloomberg. Using actual reported, I'm sorry, this is the article in the Washington Times. I am sorry. Using actual reported crime statistics on sexual offenses at almost any U.S. college, and applying the White House claim that only 12% of campus sexual assaults actually get reported, we have to conclude that nowhere near 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted while in college, Perry wrote. Alternatively, if the 1 in 5 women claim is true, the percentage of sexual assaults that get reported to the college campus police would have to be much, much lower than 12%. In other words, the claims that the White House uses don't work together, and they therefore can't be both simultaneously correct. Wonderful. Beautiful way of describing it. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Let's go to Slate. What does Slate say? Slate is a young, hip magazine. Slate says, but seeking justice for female victims should make us more sensitive, not less, to justice for unfairly accused men. In practical terms, that means finding ways to show support for victims of sexual violence without equating accusations and guilt, and recognizing that the wrongly accused are real victims as well. To put it simply, we need to stop presuming guilt. And I cannot agree more. I am in college. I get called a rapist practically every day. I get called the person who perpetuates the patriarchy every day. I get called privileged every day. I'm just as poor as everybody else. I have no privileges. And a woman is the last person to say she has privileges. That should say that anybody else has privileges, because women have more legal rights than men. The reproductive rights. In an equal world where a woman says she wants to be equal and truly equal, she would have to relinquish 50% of her reproductive rights and give them to the male, because that is equal. If you took a man's rights and you took a woman's rights and you put the man's rights over here and you put the woman's rights over here and you put them on a scale, the woman's rights would outweigh the man's rights. Equality means it has to be equal. So, thank you for your listening, and like, subscribe, comment. I love hearing your comments, and I'd love to be able to discuss this further. Let me know what your guys' opinions are, what your experiences are. Let me know if you want me to explore the statistics of something. You hear something that sounds outrageous, and I will explore it and let you know.